Salutations, kindred souls. Welcome back to Lux Martin Enlightenment. I'm Lux, and in this channel we talk about all things enlightenment. Not the kind that transcends life, but the kind you find right in the middle of it. So my question for you is, what if the contradictions of your life weren't a burden, but a blessing? What if the tensions you feel between your head, heart, and body weren't stressors, but were tools to help you dance the dance of life? Today, we're going to talk about the concept of duality, what it is, and how changing your awareness and your perspective of it can help life be a blessing and a dance that you flow through effortlessly rather than a burden or a source of fear and overwhelm. So, we're going to start with breaking it down. I'm sure we've all heard the concept or the term duality or polarity, kind of synonymously interchangeable. But to break it down a little, duality is the acknowledgement that there are two sides of every coin, whether that's big things, little things in life. Life is full of duality. There are two sides to every coin. It is not an error in the system, these extremes, these opposite sides of the coin. It is the system. It is the way the universe is designed. Without the day, there is no night. Without death, there is no urgency of life. In my belief, life in its meaning and its existence would collapse without polarity, without duality. There would be no point to observe and navigate contrast. So it is in my understanding that duality is the design of the universe. It is not a flaw. It is not an obstacle. It is its design, and we are meant to learn to dance in it. I believe that is why we came down here in this human experience, is to experience polarity and duality and then decide what we want to do with it. So how we're aware of duality, we understand it's real, but how do we understand that duality exists, and how do we feel it in our lives? In my perspective, duality is observed in three ways. You have what I call three barometers of duality in your existence. One is your mind, your intellect, your ability to discern topically or data-wise what duality exists in life. The next is your soul or your intuition. I believe it's a little harder to describe, but your soul, your intuition, your gut is a tool that you use to perceive duality that is and on a different level, because your soul, your spirit is in this world, but not of it. So it's a very special tool. And then the last, which is very, very of this world, is your human body, your human carcass. For those of you that are going to go on this journey with me, please keep in mind that I will forever affectionately and sarcastically call your human physical body my human carcass. It is all out of love and sarcasm, because as much as I do love and appreciate this lovely human body I was given, humaning is sometimes clunky and less than my favorite. So it's always out of love and sarcasm. Don't think I'm some dark, sinister brat who doesn't appreciate my human form and the body I was blessed with. All right, so continuing on with that side note. We are built to gauge duality in mind, spirit, body. And these three things respond to duality differently. They give us input in different ways. We're not meant to suppress one or amplify another. I feel that the best way to dance the dance of life is to use all three of these tools in the toolbox together to help reaffirm your decision making. When you can listen to your head, heart, and body all together, and they're all giving you feedback, and you're noticing the similarities and the dissonances of whatever particular topic of duality you're observing, you will gain such a level of sureness and clarity in yourself based on the fact that you're using all the tools in the toolbox, all the barometers, and not just one over the other. And then the next thing we're going to become aware of is that noticing all of these things, using the barometers, we observe that duality is tension. We observe that one end feels very strongly and poignantly in a direction, and the other end feels very strongly and poignantly in another direction. And so it begs the question of, why should I abandon certain aspects of this extreme or this extreme to pull myself towards a middle or the other end? Why should I? What should I give up? How do I navigate this? So there is this tension in all things of why do these extremes exist and what am I going to do about it? So conceptually, we have much more clarity on what duality is, that it exists in the universe, that is the structure of the universe. I want to give you some verbiage examples so that instead of it just being an abstract floaty thought in your mind, you literally can pinpoint some of the aspects in your life where duality exists. So I'm going to run through my list here. Light and dark, color and grayscale, masculine and feminine, emotion and apathy, naivety and wisdom, solitude and connection, activity and rest, body, humaning and spirit, strength and softness, expansion and contraction, surrender and control, logic and intuition, confusion and clarity, passion or drive and stillness, old and new, birth and death. Those are just many examples. They're yes, some of them are vague, but we can all think of very specific examples of where we've noticed birth and death in our lives, or where we've noticed activity and rest versus rest in our lives, or where we've noticed overwhelming emotion versus lack of any emotion in our lives. That is the point of putting verbiage to these, is so that you can identify in your own life existence where those things exist and take notice of them. Because then when you are more aware of them, you can make different decisions about what you're going to do in noticing the dualities. And so part of that begs the question of, isn't that the point of our existence, is to notice the duality and then decide what we're going to do about it? This tension we feel, this angst, is part of the human experience, and then you get to decide how you want to navigate it. I chose to really revolutionize my perspective on duality, and it has completely changed my life, the way I move in the world, the way I see the world, the way I surrender to the happenings of duality. I used to let duality stalemate me constantly, especially even as a young kid. I would be aware of these choices and how the more extreme the choices, the more anxiety I felt. And it, because my perception of duality wasn't a two sides of the coin kind of thing, I saw duality as forks in the road. Every choice was a this or that. And the overwhelming fear I felt of, if I go left and I didn't go right, was it a mistake? And what if I can't take it back? Gave me crippling anxiety, as well as often just paralyzed me in indecision or not making a decision that was best for me or that felt good to me. I did it out of obligation. I did it out of self-sacrifice. I often made poor choices at the cost of myself because I did not understand that my perception of duality was harming me and causing me stress and fear, instead of just observance and then giving myself the sovereignty and power to navigate polarity. So, something I beg you to consider is viewing polarity as two ends of a stick, and you, in your human experience, are walking the tightrope of life. You are meant to be holding the middle of this stick in observance of the two ends, and you balancing the middle, you choosing and manipulating how to use the stick to walk the tightrope that is your life. When you can hold yourself in the awareness of the two ends of the stick, but knowing that you're using the middle to balance and navigate your life, that is such a peaceful yet empowering feeling, knowing that it is not a stressor of overwhelm, it is a tool to balance you and steady you through life. So yes, I found it really appreciative to use the balancing stick and the tightrope walk as a new way to view duality. It's not something to be burdened by. And it's not, it emphasizes the need to understand that there is no need to choose a side. It is not this or that, one or the other. And it is not here to make things harder. It is about you walking in presence and holding both ends of the stick with awareness and honesty. Yeah? And that's perfectly fine. And that's what we're all allowed to and encouraged to do to get a more balanced, sovereign direction of your life. So now I'm going to kind of go into 3 ways that you can use the barometers in real life examples to become aware of and choose how you want to navigate duality, yeah? Regarding the mind, the barometer of mind and intellect. A good example of this is observing the duality of both sides of an argument, my truth versus yours. Understanding, like, if, for example, if you're having a discussion with someone and you're in deep disagreement with the way something happened, the way you see something, the way you should approach something, can you observe, can your intellect become aware of the fact that your version of the story, the experience, the perspective is real, valid, and has truth to it? So does theirs. Whether it's with, three great examples are with work relationships, your spouse, your partner relationships, and your children. So, for example, if something happened and you see very clearly that this is the way the story went down, and these facts about it, for me, are true, but your child or your spouse or your coworker also has their version of the story that is equally valid and also has literal truths that happened from their perspective. And so intellectually, you can become aware of the dissonance that exists between the stories, but yet hold space for the fact that both are real, valid, and true. So that's a good one of using intellect, your mind. In terms of using your soul, there are many great examples. That we're observing the duality of logic versus intuition, which is kind of the broadest sense of using your soul for the barometer of duality. But a great example of this in my life was observing and feeling in my spirit when I was changing careers. I went to go pursue insurance because I knew that statistically it was an extremely lucrative career and it could potentially right all the financial wrongs that the previous 20 years of my life has caused. And if you know anything about the world of insurance and sales, it's a numbers game, it's a stats game. And so if you follow the rules, you make the calls, you knock on the doors, you really statistically can't fail. And so I know that I'm a very smart, outgoing person. I love talking to people. And I knew I got good at the job fairly quickly. I knew that I could do this. But after at least about a half a year of getting hard no after stumbling block, after obstacle, after problem, I had to become aware of the discernment of me choosing to plow through the negativity, the setbacks, the no's, because in that field you have to, it's part of the job. And so my logic was saying, this is part of it, you know how this works, you must keep going. But my soul was saying, this is not for you. Great try, you're learning a lot of things about you and yourself in this, and you were meant to try this for a time. But are you meant to do this for the next 20 years? No. And so I really had to stop and discern the logical truths about this career versus what my spirit was telling me about me doing it. And then lastly, moving on to an example of using your body as the barometer, and a great one that we can all use, and I had to learn a lot about, was vitality versus exhaustion. I come from get shit done, grow up as a hard worker kind of upbringing. And so I was very good for the whole first half of my life of completely ignoring my body and what its signals were and calling it vitality, strength. I was calling my grit and my work ethic health, and it was so not. And so I had to start to learn and appreciate that those signals are not something to be ignored, and it doesn't change who I am or the values or the work ethic I have. But for example, one of the reasons I get migraines is being extremely overwhelmed and overworked and overtired. And taking 20 minutes and some meds is not listening or resting. Because if I didn't, then it would be a trip to the ER or an entire day in bed. So learning to listen to the difference between what real vitality is versus my body is truly, my human is truly exhausted and it's time to change direction, change course, stop, rest, whatever. We can all work on that. And so if you're anything like me who spent, your childhood upbringing being a hard worker and being a go-getter and being a get crap done kind of person, you can learn to appreciate that, learning to listen to the nuances of your body. You don't always have to listen to them. There are times you have to push through because that's the best thing to do for you in that circumstance. But there is definitely this choice to become aware of, I no longer feel vitality in doing what I'm doing. My body, my human carcass is drained. So it's time to notice and navigate. So I hope these examples of learning to become aware and use the barometers will help you gain some confidence in your ability to not only become more aware of all of the forms of duality in your life, but what you're going to do about it. Something that I find as a final reflection, which is just mind blowing, is the fact that if the universe designed this world to be duality, if the system is set up to constantly be navigating and honing in and choosing what to do with the awareness that polarity exists, that is the point of the human experience. And how cool is it that there are almost 8 billion of us down here doing this all at the same time, and we're all getting slightly different results? Is that not the most magnificent thing or point of existence expansion? If that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what does. So, in conclusion, I hope that you can appreciate that duality is not something to fear, it's not something to stress you or trouble you. It is you holding the pull and trusting that both sides can exist at the same time. And I get to pick and choose how I want to navigate that. I do, and so does everyone else in my life that I love and care about. So does all the 8 other billion people on this planet. And that's a beautiful thing. And if it wasn't meant to work like that, we wouldn't be here like this. So I hope this was super enlightening. This was a juicy topic that I really enjoyed talking about. And I hope to see you again on another episode of Lux Martin Enlightenment. Keep seeking, keep softening, keep showing up. Remember, the light you're looking for is probably the light that you already are. Mwah.